Hey everybody, Flashfreak here. Going to do something a little different here today. We are going to be doing a comic book review. I've kind of been teasing this on my channel a little bit with some of the video game content that we've been doing. As you guys can see from the set around me, I'm a huge fan of a lot of things, including The Flash, as you can tell by my name, and, well, everything around me. I'm a huge fan of The Flash and comic books in general, and a lot of other nerdy things like my D&D collection, stuff like that. So we will be covering a lot more of that stuff on the channel. As for today, however, what I wanted to cover was a topic near and dear to my heart, which is The Flash. Here recently, I picked up this Flash comic right here, Flash Year 1. I picked it up in a local comic book store, roughly about 30 minutes away from me. That's how local it is for me around here. But I did really enjoy it. There's not a whole lot of Flash graphic novels out. The main one, honestly, is Flashpoint, which probably everyone and their mother has read if you're a DC fan. It's very big in media right now, just about everywhere, because Flashpoint's kind of reset the DC universe again. So I was kind of interested to see how they're going to go about doing a new origin story. This came out fairly recently. It came out in 2020. I don't know the exact date, but I do know it was in 2020. It is The Flash number 70 through 75 in the current Flash run, I believe. So, like I said, it's fairly recent. Now, I do want to give you guys a little bit of context before I do go into doing this review for this book. When I grew up, I'm about 26, almost 27 right now. So when I grew up, Wally West was the main Flash. For anyone around my age who may not know, in like Justice League of America, all the older TV shows and comics, Wally West was the Flash. And just about all of them, because he was the current Flash. For those of you who don't know Flash lore, Barry Allen died back in the 80s during the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And for the longest time, he was the only comic book character, like big hero, to have died and not have come back before. So I always thought that was really good because I thought it played a lot into Wally's character. Because for those of you who do know Barry Allen's origin story, he was CSI and everything beforehand. So solving crimes was right up his alley in general. Anyways, so I always thought I liked Wally West's character better. He was a lot more of a comedic character, I guess, and that's probably why I liked him a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe I just really liked Wally West's character when he was the Flash. So, but back in the early 2010s, late 2009, I can't remember exactly when, DC did decide to do kind of a reboot when they did the New 52. Whenever they did the New 52, that is when the origins of most superheroes, I think pretty much all of them, have gotten remade and redone. So, we are now back to Barry Allen, which is fine. Barry Allen's a good character as well. He's a great Flash. He's a Flash that a lot of people grew up with. Like I said, he's a good Flash, however, but for me, my personal preference is Wally West from back in the early 2000s. Just so you guys know that ahead of time, because that may affect my review a little bit, but that way you guys know. But, jumping into the comic book, a lot of good things. I'd like to cover a lot. A lot of the artwork in this is really, really good. I do plan on taking a few screenshots and kind of putting a few stills in here or there that I do like. However, that is also a positive and a negative of this comic. There's a lot of really good panels that I feel like are drawn really, really well, especially a lot of the ones that are done with Old Flash. But there's also a lot of comic panels that were drawn very, very haphazardly. I do understand, for a comic, you kind of have to rush a few more of the panels to make sure you get out on time. But I feel like there were some parts that were just done really, really well and, beautifully detailed. And then there's some that, there's barely any detail at all. You can barely even tell what's going on. And I'll go ahead and, like I said, put a few examples of those into the video while I'm talking. But, yeah, I felt like they spent a lot of time with Old Flash. Just about every single one with Old Flash does have fairly good drawings and stuff with them. I feel like some of the younger Flash scenes that they do, especially when he's running through different panels, have been a little haphazardly drawn or inked. I don't know if they had different inkers for those parts, or different drawers or what. Overall, I do tend to like the illustrations of the actual panels themselves. And then the variant in the back, like I said, this is issue 70 through 75. There is a variant cover section in the back, and a lot of those are real great. So I would like to kind of show those off maybe at the end of the video as well. But I do feel like I said, it is a positive and negative. I feel like maybe they could take a little bit more care to either scale up some of the worser drawings or maybe scale down some of the better drawings to kind of make it a little bit more of an equal comic, I guess. I guess that's how you would say that. I kind of want the quality to be relatively the same. Cause I feel like I don't know if they had multiple people working on it. Well, I know they have multiple people working on it, but I don't know if they had multiple people working on each part of the comic, and that's why there's a little bit of a dip in some spots. But it kind of took me out of some of the scenes. I'm not gonna lie. One of the very good improvements that I do like from this is one of the most less known Flash villains. This kind of really plays a really big part in this. The Turtle is the villain in these 5 comics. And for those of you who don't know who that is, the Turtle is basically the exact opposite of the Flash. Where he goes super, super slow. He talks really slow. Probably even slower than that. I mean, you can even tell whenever they actually draw him in and actually have him do speech bubbles, you can tell how slow he talks. I really do I always thought the Turtle was underwhelming. As you guys could probably see right over here, I do have a Flash compendium that goes from the very first Flash comic all the way till right around the New 52. And with that, one of those that introduced the Turtle from back in the 40s, and he was just literally just a straight up suit guy who just talked really slow, and for some reason seemed a step ahead of the Flash all the time, even though he's supposed to be the fastest man alive. It was really, really weird. Maybe I can put a few panels from there as well into the video, but yeah. But in this one, he's actually a big buff, actually turtle-looking dude. He has a shell that kind of elaborate a little bit more onto the Turtle as well, which I like. The Turtle used to be a scientist. A lot of the Flash villains used to be scientists or related to science in some way, who was working on isolating the Atom, I think it is, from the Speed Force, and it ended up aging him and very much took his speed from him. And that's why he talks super slow and has those powers. Another thing it did is also made him where he's pretty much immortal. I think they said in the comic he's been alive for 1,000 years and he cannot die. Through natural means anyways. I don't know if he can die, in other ways or not. But they did establish it fairly early into the comic that he does not age. I also feel like they did play off a little bit more as to how much of a villain he is. Like I said, there's going to be spoilers throughout quite a bit of this. I got to do it to review it. The Turtle does ultimately say that he had to kill his family, and that's why he no longer has any bounds. And it works because in this comic, he actually ends up taking over Central City and a good part of the world, I believe, as well. And getting into that a little bit more is one of my first gripes about this origin story. So when the Flash starts out, once again, for those of you who don't know, for Barry Allen, he is a CSI. His mother was murdered. His father took the blame for it, even though his father didn't kill him. You don't know yet as to who actually killed him. If you're a fan of the Flash, you probably do know. I will go ahead and tell people if you guys don't know. Once again, spoiler alert, it is usually the Reverse Flash. So, but in this comic, they don't touch upon that. But once again, he's trying to find his mother's murderer. Looking into that, he's a CSI. Lightning strikes. All the stuff in his lab fall on him. After the lightning strike, he gets his Speed Force. So that's how he first learns that he has the powers. Once again, he's in a coma for a few months. That's pretty on par with the rest of the origin story. But then it gets a little weird. So as soon as he wakes up, he can find out he can move quick, which happens with all the other ones. But fairly quickly, which they kind of show off in the cover art here, he finds out that even though he has super speed, he is burning through a lot of his shoes. So he has to decide on how to solve that issue. To being a scientist, he makes his own boots. Cool story. I don't think I've ever really seen that talked upon much super early. So that was good. I did like that. However, right after he makes the boots, so I think it's been maybe a few days, he's like, I gotta clock out what my top speed is. And he pushes over 200 miles per hour and jumps into the future. He jumps into the future and confronts the old Flash, his older self, way later into the future. And in this future, the Turtle has taken over and is trying to find the Flash in order to finish off what they started back then. So, my first big gripe about this is it takes Barry a long time to get to that top speed in the comics and everywhere else. Granted, time travel is a very big part of the DC universe now with the Flash, with Flashpoint and everything else kind of changing what has happened. However, I'm talking like within days, he has already jumped up probably close to 50 years maybe, because this is old Flash with a big beard, gray beard and everything. So he's jumped at least 50 years into the future after just now finding his superpowers. I don't think it's actually possible for his body not to be able to do that. And the other thing is, too, they established it that he's trying to learn how to stop. So he doesn't even know how to stop properly yet. But yeah, he's able to control the Speed Force to run through time to go to the future. Really took me out of it real quick. For those of you who don't really kind of know the origin story for the Flash, the CW series covers it really, really well in the first season. But the thing with Barry, he's never really seemed like he's been the fastest. He always tries to get faster and faster and faster, even though he's the fastest man alive. He always feels like he's not fast enough. So he has to slowly grow his speed. It's also very well established, too, that Wally West is actually faster than him. I was also back in the 80s and even now with Kid Flash being Wally West. He's always typically been faster than Barry Allen, but Barry Allen is more controlled, more methodical, can do his powers better. One of the big differences between Barry Allen and Wally West that they kind of touch upon on this, but they kind of combine them together, is Barry Allen learns very quick how to vibrate his molecules. So for those of you who don't know, the Flash is able to vibrate like his hand or his whole entire body and match the molecules of solid objects to phase through them. If you do not do it properly, you can cause it to explode because it becomes unbalanced. So Barry Allen learns that very quick on how to do that fairly effectively. Wally West never really does. He can do it here or there if he focuses really, really hard, but he's always been kind of, the more faster, the more impulsive of them, which is why I think I kind of connected with him a little bit more. But in this one, despite the fact that he's able to run through time already, he learns how to phase, and he can't quite learn how to phase properly. He tries to phase a little bit here or there, and it doesn't come up significantly until later on in the comic. So, I'll get back to that point here in a second. But with him running to the future, he meets his old self. His old self knew he was going to be there because it's the same Barry Allen. They're kind of in a time loop. So the old Flash does find Barry Allen, helps him get to the treadmill, and run back into time. So, gets him back to the starting point to where he was. However, in doing that, the old Flash did get caught by Turtle. So, that comes up later. So at this point, Barry Allen has never came across any kind of villains yet. However, the old Flash did tell him that he would be coming across the Turtle very soon. And Barry Allen tends to think, okay, well, if I stop him in this time, he'll never get the chance to take over the world. So he kind of puts his crusade to find his brother's murderer to the side, which, understandable. Ends up finding a very low-tier Turtle. At this point, he's robbing a bank. The Turtle had this heist planned out for years. Didn't expect the Flash to show up, obviously, because this Turtle doesn't know what future Turtle knows, obviously. So, the Flash puts a quick work to him. This is his debut. He's never fought crime or anything before. Stops the Turtle, gets him arrested, runs away. Doesn't even really he has like a hoodie at this point, which is one thing I do like about the story, is to kind of show the progression of him getting a super suit. Which I kind of like because they don't really cover that too much in a lot of different comics in the shows for his origin. So it's kind of cool to see. I think he has 6 or 7 different outfits throughout the whole, or different superhero costumes throughout the whole entire thing. Obviously, the very last one is his actual main Flash outfit, his main super suit. So, well, it's kind of cool to see kind of the evolution of that. But yeah, so anyways, in that fight, I'm bringing this up because it's very important later on. The Turtle does get a punch in on him, and he has a fairly solid black eye. So he helps apprehend the turtle, runs away, and then meets Iris. At this point, him and Iris are still kind of like loose friends, where like she's a reporter, he's works at the science lab. They flirt with each other, but he's never actually like asked her out or anything. This isn't like the CW show where they've been lifelong friends. I want to get that out of the way right now. There's a completely different continuity. So, they're loose friends, mainly through work. Because she keeps wanting to interview him because he's, a CSI for the cops. And he never really kind of keeps biting the bullet and doesn't want to actually ask her out or anything like that. One of the things old Flash should tell him before he took him back is to just go ahead and go for it. Ask Iris out. So, after he stops the turtle, he goes and tries to ask Iris what's out, and she makes a very candid comment about his eye, because the turtle punched him, black eye. He has a bruise on his face. Probably within, probably about 10-15 minutes, I would say. The reason why I'm bringing this up, because later on in the episode, or in the comics, whenever he starts fighting crime stuff more and more and more, there is a cameo appearance of Snark. For those of you who don't know, that is Captain Cold. He's not Captain Cold yet. He's just Leonard Snark in this. Iris West does come up to Leonard Snark and a bunch of gang members and kind of ask them a question, and they shoot at her. One of them shoot at him. The Flash does stop it, but at that point, he does get shot in the chest. And this is another one of my gripes about this. So, it is very well established, for those of you who don't know, the Flash has kind of a healing factor, but not really. So, everything about the Flash is done fast. So, he has really, really high metabolism, so he has to eat constantly. I'm talking constantly. So that way he can repair all the calories he burns off. But that's about it. So everything in his body works fast. That doesn't mean he heals faster. It's just his body reacts to it faster. So a good example, and let me reach down here. In this comic, which is done by Grant Morrison, this is one of the first graphic novels I read by The Flash. He gets his legs broken, which, would take you weeks and weeks, to even months possibly, to heal from. He has both his legs broken. They establish in this that even though with his healing factor that he has, not that it's a healing factor, but with his super speed to heal, it would still take him probably about a week to 2 weeks to fully heal. So, he's in a wheelchair for a good part of that, which is great. That is done properly. And this one, he gets shot, runs back to his apartment, and there's a very, very gruesome scene where there's blood all around him. He's like, man, I gotta get this bullet out. So he learns to properly phase through his body to grab the bullet, and as soon as he grabs the bullet, he somehow magically gets healed quick enough to where when Iris stops by, he's healed. Once again, probably about 10-15 minutes, maybe 20 at the most, has passed by. But yet, this bullet has completely healed. No shot, no blood, no nothing. I find that a little bit of a stretch. Even in a comic book universe, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. So, I didn't like that. I do feel like there's a lot of things that they're trying to find out kind of hard and fast with. Like I said, he's able to run through time, but yet, he's kind of learns how to phase like that as well. He's learning things really, really quick. And that's one thing that I feel like the Flash has always been really good at, is being very methodical and learning things, because a lot of superheroes like Superman, Wonder Woman stuff have a lot of powers that they can do, and they don't really have to be super, not that they don't have to, but there's not quite as much thinking that goes into them solving stuff. With the Flash, he has to be very methodical with a lot of stuff that he takes people down with, and with how he kind of goes about things. So I've always thought that was really good. I feel like this one and these stories, they kind of go through it very loosey-goosey, and kind of just assume that you know more about the Flash than you do. For it being an origin story, they assume that you're going to know this and that and this, which I don't think was portrayed very well. But yeah, like I said, just a few more of the old points. I just want to kind of go down there. I've been kind of spewing off a lot of stuff here right off the bat. So I got my notes right below me here. So like I said, the positives, love the improvement that they made to the turtle. Like I said, at the very end, the turtle is actually just back into time using the old Flash. He takes the old Flash's speed, but while he's taking his speed, he makes him run back into time to meet the current Flash and current turtle. So the current turtle and the future turtle team up to try to take over the Flash in the past. So, long story short, pretty much what they're trying to do is connect the future and the past selves and pretty much take over the timeline, essentially, in the multiverse as it goes on. So, pretty big thing for him to stop right off the bat. The reason why Old Flash knew is because Old Flash told him, Barry Allen, the current one, to run. Whenever the turtle came back in the time, just to run. You'll have a long life, you'll have plenty to do, you gotta run and leave Central City, though. So in this timeline, every single time Barry Allen has ran. He has listened and ran. Which means Central City has always been taken over, which means the rest of the world has kind of been in limbo with everybody. But the Flashes say that he has a lot of highs and lows and meets a lot of grand people and everything. So, essentially, except for Central City being taken over by the Turtle, it seems like most of the rest of the world is fine, which is weird, because they talk about the Justice League being made as well. You'd think that they would have came back to Central City and stopped that, but I guess in this timeline, not. But yeah, so anyways, this Barry Allen decides, no, I'm not going to run anymore. When I'm done running, I'm going to fight. So, he decides to fight both Turtles. Which is fine. I understand, you gotta be his heroic and stuff. However, I don't like the way they're going about doing it. There is a very, very big scene, and I'll probably do a close-up shot of it later. But I felt like it was very cliche, I guess you can say. So essentially, at the end there, the Turtle keeps talking about how he needs to take the Flash's powers to kind of connect the two links from the past and the present. Or from the present to the future. And he needs the Flash's speed to do that, even though he already has the older Flash's speed who should be more experienced. Because like I said, the Flash does learn more and more and more throughout time how to control and run faster and faster. So you would think that the older Flash's powers would have been enough, but I guess not. So he's trying to get the current Flash's powers to help fuse the two links. And he's talking about how, I'm just going to keep slowing everything down to the point where I'll be the fastest. Pretty much taking their life energy through speed. The Flash decides that the way to stop him is to collect the speed from everybody else. And it's a very spirit bomby kind of feel. I'll take a picture of the comic book panel below. But I just felt like it was really cliched. Because they keep talking about how they're opposites and everything. And the Flash just pretty much decides, okay, well, if we're opposites, if you can do that, then I can do the same thing. And kind of borrows the speed from Central City citizens to help combat Turtle. It's really, really weird. It is kind of cool to look at after he does that. The citizens of Central City do decide to fight Turtle's henchmen and stuff, kind of help prolong the events. So it was kind of cool, but it's very, very cliche. I never even heard of the Flash ever taking any kind of speed from just normal people. It was very, very weird. Maybe I'm just not too into the storylines with the Turtle from back then, but I mean, I've read I think 4 or 5 of his comics that the Turtle's been the villain in. I've never heard of him ever taking the speed. I know the Turtle can take the speed from people, but I've never heard of the Flash borrowing the speed from other people to improve his ability to fight. It's really, really weird. I've never heard of it before, because the whole entire premise of the Flash is that he taps into the Speed Force, and the Speed Force is an actual unit of force that he can follow and flow through. So why would you need more speed to make the Speed Force fast? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's kind of cool, but it just didn't do it for me, guys. But yeah, so that was one of my biggest gripes right at the end there. I also do feel like I said, I do feel like they are kind of combining Wally and Barry in this, kind of try to appease to me and to the older fans, because a lot of older people do like Barry Allen. Those are the ones he grew up with. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I grew up with Wally West, so I'm kind of more leaning towards him, even though they've ruined Wally West in the past few years, which I'll get into that, I'm sure, in another video. But these, like I said, these are all my opinions, so if you guys disagree, go ahead and talk about it in the comments. But I feel like with the whole entire... I feel like they knew Barry Allen needs to be good at these things, to be methodical about thinking about these things, but they made it impulsive like Wally. So, let's see what my top speed is right off the bat. Probably shouldn't do that. As a scientist, even if you want to know what your top speed is, you think you'd want to learn how to stop and be a lot more methodical about it first. That is very something that Wally has done in multiple comics, And I think he's done it in the TV show where he's trying to find out what his top speed is and has like broken his arm or something because he's trying to run way too fast without stopping and stuff. So, and again with the vibration thing, he learns how to vibrate and explode something in the comics, but yet he feels like he is methodical enough to do it to his own self after only doing it like 2 or 3 times to get a bullet out. And I understand, desperation, dramatic stuff, but I just feel like, once again, that's one of Wally's big things, is that he always struggled to face through things. He had to sit there and focus. Barry's never really had to do that. Once Barry learned how to do it, he was fine. So it kind of feels like they're combining the 2 origins a little bit. Not really necessarily the origins, but I guess the origins of the powers, how they go about their powers. So I think they're kind of like trying to hit like a happy medium with it. And granted, this is only 5 issues, so I don't know how the rest of the series goes. But yeah, overall though, I do think that this is worth the read, especially if you are a Flash fan or if you're just a fan of comics in general. I do think it is a little bit worth the read. Nightfall did try to read it. I can't say he did not get through it. There's a lot of stuff that kind of just comes out of nowhere. Like I said, this does assume that you guys do know a lot about the Flash in general as it is, which is why I don't think it's meant for everyone. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff they assume that like the healing properties and stuff like that. Which is why I don't think it's a very good comic book for people who aren't into the Flash or into comics in general. Or not in for casual fans, I don't feel like it's a very good graphic novel for them. If you guys don't know a lot about the Flash or a lot about the DC Universe, maybe pick up something a little bit easier to learn and learn more about the universe first. However, for people like me who know the Flash and kind of know the origins and know about the Turtles, stuff like that, it is a fairly good read, even though I do have some things I didn't like about it. So, but yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my review, a little bit of my thoughts and stuff on the book. I do plan on kind of covering a little bit more later on. Like I said, I may cover Emergency Stop that I have down here. I got a few other books. Nightfall did just hand me the Deceased books from DC, so I may try to read those and review those as well. But overall, I'd probably give this, for someone who's read the books or who knows about the Flash and knows about DC continuity, I'd probably give them maybe a 6 out of 10. It's not a bad read, but it does assume that you know a lot about the Flash universe already, and you can kind of choose your own kind of thoughts on that. For someone who doesn't know a lot about the Flash or a lot about DC continuity, it's probably a 2, unfortunately, which I hate to say because it assumes that you know a lot about the Flash right off the bat. But yeah, that is my review on this book, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time.